Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you already know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So I wanted to talk to you all today about something that's going to be a little bit sensitive to a lot of the men watching. All right. So I'm just going to kind of give you this, a little bit of a warning, before we get too deep in it. And I wish I didn't have to give this warning, but I know that many of you might be rubbed the wrong way, by what I'm about to say. But I'm really hoping that you're not. Because you have to understand, again, what's written on the screen is what I'm about. I am not about drama. I am not about, talking about people. I know, like I said, YouTube tells me all the different things that everyone watches. So I kind of have an understanding that, many of you are out on certain platforms that spend a lot of time, either talking very bad about men or talking very bad about women or relationships or this, that, and the third, right? And I know that. And, like I said, you have to find your own path based off of what you feel comfortable with doing. But at the end of the day, most of what I try to put out here in my mind is still trying to gear us towards marriage and trying to do things in my belief system a little bit closer to the way God will want them to go, right? And I'm not saying I'm perfect in any way or anything like that. And I've talked a lot about, things that I've been through and how I am not perfect. Okay. And nor do I think anyone out here is perfect. So again, this is not me on a high horse or me trying to say that I'm better than anyone else. This is just practical advice. Again, that if it was me in the audience, if it was me that was watching, right now looking for help, these are the types of things I would want someone to tell me. I just want to say all of that in the beginning, before I get into this, because again, I want to make sure that, people understand the tone in which I am saying this information instead of, like I said, getting upset very quickly. And again, for those that have been around the channel for a long period of time, they know I try to keep things very balanced. I talk to women, I talk to men, I try to, talk about the pros and cons, of both sides, where people are making their mistakes and different things like that. And, I'll be honest, I do lean most of that towards women these days. But every once in a while, I will put, do a whole entire video just for men or primarily for men. Even though women can learn something from, even a men's video, I do make a men's video every once in a while. But, most of the time, most of the videos are aimed at women, but then I'll give a couple of nuggets in there that men can actually receive. So I just want to make sure, people understand that as well. So now let's get into it. So recently, if you all don't know, I run a group, I co-run a group, called Christian Singles Connect, which also has a spinoff, Christian Millennials Connect, right? So Millennials Connect is really for those under 40 and Connect is for those that are over 40. Okay, so if you want to join, you see the information on the screen. So go over there, check it out. J2 Connect, which is what you're watching right now on YouTube, is actually starting to get, more and more interconnected. So over time, they all might be one. I don't know. But right now I've been keeping them separate so I can make sure I do certain events. And even though they're located here in Atlanta, it'll actually give you, notes when I'm actually going to be doing a live out here on YouTube. So for some of you, that might be the main thing, the reason why you might want to join, just so you kind of know a little bit more about what's going on YouTube. Anyway, let's get to it. So in that particular group, like I said, there's about right now, because there's actually 3 different locations. So there's about 5,000 people in total. Like I said, we're consolidating now, but right now there's about 5,000 people over 3 different locations. And I have a lot of conversations with the people in that group. One of the main reasons why I like to do the Zoom lives, which, in 2025 will be on Thursday, is simply because I want to interact with people. Okay, I don't like situations where you all can't talk, where you have no voice, where, you can't tell me the specific things that are going on in your life, right? And to me, it's very important, for us, to be communicating in that way, right? And so a lot of times, we'll have, like I say, different meetings and different things like that over there and even events. And so I'm able to sit down and talk to people. And sometimes people will pull me aside and they'll ask me, a question about, something that they're going through, or just, kind of inform me on the situation and how they feel about it. So recently, I was at a particular event and one of the ladies pulled me aside, right? And so we took a step, it was kind of like a multi-room place. And we kind of took a step into another room. And at that point, she kind of let me know that she had been dating this guy. And, this particular guy had constantly brought up a lot of concerns. And some of those concerns were the fact that, women in America are, all masculine. Women in America don't appreciate a man. Women in America don't know how to do anything. And the guy also had brought up several influencers that he had been listening to. So the woman was sitting there, basically what she was telling me, that she's sitting there on, a date and the phone or whatever it was. And the guy is basically talking about, are you one of these type of women? Because, I was listening to XYZ person and they were saying that, women these days do this, that, and the third, right? And that's basically what was going on. And I've heard actually that story from multiple women, like lots and lots and lots of women. And this is the thing that, is very concerning to me. Not necessarily that you all are listening to these people as far as actually listening to these influencers. I'm not telling you or teaching you now not to listen to them. I mean, that's your prerogative. I always will say that some people will benefit you and bless you and some people will not, but that is up to you to figure that out based off of what are they trying to sell you. Okay, because everybody is trying to sell you on something. Like I said, what I'm trying to sell you on is what's on the screen. So what it boils down to is this, guys. When you are in front of a woman, I do not encourage you to bring up the name and or reference of another man unless you have to, or unless that's like a family member, i.e. your dad or your uncle. And the reason why is because women naturally, are hypergamous. And many of you know this. All right. And so what happens is when you're bringing up a reference to another man and you're using that man as wisdom, you're saying that this man gave me wisdom. Okay. And it's like I say, if it's an older person, like I said, like a father or an uncle or a grandfather, it works because at that point, the woman feels like, okay, you're solid on your own solid ground, so to speak. But what happens is if it's an influencer, then it turns the woman's emotions against you. At that point, she starts to believe in the back of her mind, why should I be with this guy that's in front of me? I need to be with a guy like that influencer. Since everybody's talking about this influencer, then maybe I need to, as a woman, shoot my shot with the influencer and leave the guy that's in front of me. Because what it makes you look like is it makes you look very insecure. Because you're not walking on your own beliefs. You're not walking on what works for you. And the key element to this, guys, is not necessarily, like I said, that you can't take the information from another influencer. That's not the point. What the point is how you verbalize it and or go through it with the woman that's in front of you. So I'll give you an example. Say, for instance, you were watching someone and they were saying, that you need to have a chain. That you should wear a chain, whether it's silver or it's gold, you need to wear a chain with your outfits. All right. So that's what the influencer says. Right. And we'll call this influencer John. So if you're with a woman and the woman says, oh, I like your chain. Don't say, oh, yeah, John on YouTube, he said, yeah, us guys need to be having chains. You don't say that. Because as soon as you say that, you've now given the power to this YouTube influencer. What you say instead is, oh yeah, I like the way that look. Thank you, appreciate that. You see the difference. In one, you're just taking credit for it because you still should take credit because you went out and you got the information. For you to go get the information shows that you were wise, right? And you know what I'm always saying, like go to Pinterest if you want to up your clothes or you want to up your style, different things like that. There's nothing wrong with you doing research on the internet, with you getting out here, finding out information so that you can better your life. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. But what you're not supposed to do is to give the reference to another person. Now, if you're with your boys, yo, man, you looking good these days, man. I like your new style. Then you can tell your boys, like, oh, yeah, man, this is dude, man, John, on the YouTube, man. He be hooking it up, man. He always be giving me good ideas, man. I just started doing what he told me. And so, yeah, I mean, I just do that and blah, 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 blah. And that hooked me up, man. You should go check out some of his stuff. See, at that point, you with your boys. And so it don't matter. But when you're in front of a woman, okay, and this is a potential date, she's trying to see whether or not you can lead her. That's one of the three non-negotiables, right? So if you're passing the buck of leadership to someone else, it makes you look bad, right? So even if you believe as a man that Western women are trash, okay, that Western women ain't got no sense, that Western women are not worth your time, you don't get in front of a woman and say that, okay? Whether she is foreign or she is Western, okay? Now, if the foreign woman brings it up, like if you're in front of a woman that's foreign and she brings it up, then you can add to that, okay? But unless it's something like that, you don't bring that up because, believe it or not, it makes you look bad, okay? And so that's the whole thing. And like for the women that are watching, it's kind of like a comparison. It's why I tell women don't compare men to another man, right? So a lot of women will say things like, oh yeah, you sort of like my ex-boyfriend, or you weren't really my type because my ex-boyfriends and all the boyfriends I liked before, they was like this and this and this, and you kind of not like them. And see, that's a comparison. And we as men, we don't like that. We don't like the way that feels. Okay, when a woman compares us to another man. Well, if you are a man and you're out there and you're basically saying that, hey, I got this information from this influencer, then that makes you comparing yourself. You're doing that to yourself. You're now bringing that energy upon yourself. When all you have to do is, like, say, for instance, like I said, if you feel like the Western women, I don't know, need to drink more water. Like I said, I'm just trying to use wild examples, okay? They're not specific, okay? But you feel like Western women should drink more water. Then when you're out with a woman and you notice that she's not drinking as much water, then you can say, hey, have you ever thought about drinking a little bit more water? And then just leave it at that. Allow that energy to come from you. Allow it to be your statement. Allow it to be, your vision. Like even with me, like recently, there were some people that came on and they were saying certain things, like in some of the Zoom lives and in some of even the conversations, that I've had with other people, right? And somebody might say something profound, where I really think, that they said something good. Like I was talking to Ebony Bliss, and she said she made up the point that, every woman has a different energy, and that energy is about, it can be wifey energy. So every wifey energy is different. It's not always the same. And we in the traditional world of women, with, all of us encouraging women to be more traditional, we would believe that a woman that doesn't have traditional wifey energy is not really wifey material. So Ebony was trying to make the point that no, it's more about what the man is looking for. Because one woman working a job is great for one man, while, a woman basically being at home taking care of the kids is great for another man. And so as she made her argument, I was like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. So the first couple of times that I made that argument or brought it up, when I thought it was appropriate, in some of the videos after, I had, had that conversation with her, I gave her credit for it, 100% credit for it. But then after about the fourth or fifth time, I actually took it as my own. So now that's a part of the knowledge base that I have. So now if I'm actually in a conversation with it, I'll just bring it up and I won't really give her the reference anymore. It's the same thing when I always talk about positioning. While I have heard a lot of people talk about positioning over the years, which is where a woman puts herself around good men so that those good men can see her, that's called positioning. I did not actually know that term until a lady in CSC brought it up. And when she brought it up to the group, it was actually on like a Zoom Live, and she basically told the whole group what it was, what it meant. She actually went into details and gave examples, so everybody kind of now understood that term. And again, for the first maybe month or two, after she brought that up, I gave her 100% credit. She was on the call. I didn't want to be disrespectful to her. But by the time I got to the second and third month, I was claiming it as my own. And so what I'm saying is when you're in front of a woman, you claim this information as your own. Have you not studied it? Have you not gone out to research this? Do you not understand it at that deeper level? If those things are true, you don't need to give another man credit, okay, for this information that now you believe. All right? But I also think, and that's just one side of this. I also think that there is a point where even though we all kind of go through things, we should not be self-sabotaging on dates. All right? Like, even if I believed that all of the Western women are trash, okay? Because I know that's how some of you all believe. Even if I believe it, I'm not going to get in front of a Western woman and say it. Period. It doesn't matter if I believe it or not. There was a quote from Zorro, the whole movie long time ago, Zorro with Antonio Banderas. All right, so it was actually one of my favorite films a long time ago, long time ago. But he had a line in there, and the guy basically, was talking about it because Antonio Banderas' character is supposed to kind of be from the streets, and the guy that he's that is the former Zorro was a millionaire. And if many of you don't know, Batman is actually based off Zorro. For many of you that don't know that. But anyway, so the rich guy is talking to the guy from the streets because he's training him to become the next Zorro. Okay? And so what ends up happening is there comes to be a point where the guy from the streets, he's like, how can you, say such eloquent things all the time when all this destruction is going on around you? And basically the older guy basically tells him a gentleman is simply someone who thinks one thing and says another. That's it. He thinks one thing and says another. See, a lot of times we pull pain upon ourselves by constantly trying to voice it, trying to put it out there, trying to see how it can affect other people, trying to see the drama that it can create. But that's not really necessary. If you're already committed to going out with a Western woman, even if you believe that they are not really worth your time, why sabotage it by basically saying it out loud? Again, it's one thing if you think it, it's another thing if you say it. So like I said, for me, if I'm out with a Western woman and she is basically just hanging out with her, she is proving my mental point that I believe that way. If I did, but if she's proving that, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to enjoy the date. I'm going to thank her for the date. And then maybe when I get to my boys and they ask me, well, how was the date? Then I'll be like, oh, yeah, man, she was just another reference that these, American Western women ain't blah, 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 blah. Right? So I can say it with them, but why say it with her? Why hurt her feelings unintentionally? Why move in that energy? Because you never know. She could have been the exception to the rule. And if she's the exception to the rule and you've already sabotaged it by speaking what was on your mind, then you've hurt yourself. See, I think that we as men and women, we do a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and then we think that it's the other side doing it. But we have to watch our own selves. And like I said, I wish I could just say that this was a one-off incident, but I've run into so many women that have basically come to me saying this stuff. Oh, these men, they referencing so-and-so. And why they always talking about this guy over here and talking about this person over here on the internet? And I'll be honest, for the men out there, because we know that this happened because we saw it in women as well. Back in the 80s and 90s, women were always referencing people like Oprah Winfrey. And they would say, on the Oprah show, they said this. That was even a big thing that they would even put in movies as a joke. That Oprah said this. Why are you listening to Oprah? Oprah said this. Oprah said you're not giving me enough attention. Oprah said that men ain't about nothing and all this other kind of stuff, right? And that was the whole point. So a lot of men might feel like, okay, it's our time to talk about that. But see, that's the difference between being a man and a woman. And I'm just being real here. A man, boys are taught from a young age to take your emotions and basically to pocket them. I'm just being real. A lot of people now are trying to encourage men to release their emotions more, to talk about their emotions more. But the bottom line is a lot of fathers, when they're talking to their sons, they basically tell them to take their emotions, put them in a little envelope, put that envelope in a box, put that box inside of a safe, and move on, right? And when you are with a woman and you're talking like that, okay, then it shows that you're in your emotions, okay? Because logically, this is not going to bless you. It's not going to bless you at all. It's almost like you just wasted your money. No human being wants to be insulted, okay, directly to their face. Nobody. Men don't want to have it done to them. Women don't want to have it done to them. So nobody wants that. So if you've already committed to going out on a date with this woman and you've already committed to be paying for this date, don't sabotage it for yourself by, like I said, quoting other men or talking about all the anger, emotional things that you have in your system. Instead, talk about lighter things, happier things, get to know her, ask her questions about what she feels and what she wants. Okay? And that's going to do you better because you're already there. You might as well make the best of it. Instead of, going through, she's now hurt, she's upset, she's walking away from it. Now you kind of missed out on whatever that could have been because, like I said, she might have been the exception. And like I've told you all, there are 3 key personalities, okay? And it's really only the instinct-driven woman that many of you all are arguing about. And I know a lot of people say, well, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They're everywhere because y'all are attracted to them. I've said over and over again, instinct-driven women are the prettiest. Why? Because they understand that beauty is power, whether they know it, directly or indirectly. They also tend not to eat their emotions. And they also tend to be more extroverted, so you're going to see them out and about more. Okay? But you have about 60%, if not 70% of women, okay, that are heart types and thinking types. And it takes them all their energy just to get on a date, just to put themselves out there just a little bit. So you don't want to take those women and then stomp on them and hurt them, okay, when it's not really them. It's you kind of need to understand where your focus is. And that's why I go over this stuff over and over and over again, because I'm trying to get you all to understand. And like I've told you all before, I can spot an instinct-driven woman like this. And I don't quite understand why you all can't. And I've constantly tried to show you what to look for. But you don't necessarily, and like I said, if you go overseas and you don't understand the difference, you're still going to run into instinct-driven women. Because again, those are going to be the women that you're attracted to. A lot of times when you're dealing with heart types and thinking types, a lot of them can't even maintain eye contact with you. Okay? So it's harder for them. But they're there. Okay, they're right around you. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I hope this helps a lot of people. Remember, on Thursdays, okay, every other Thursday we do a Zoom live. If you're interested in the dating stuff that we're doing, all of that information is in the description. So again, thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.